What if I told you that in two completely different centuries, on two totally different sides of Europe, power changed hands so quickly, it made Game of Thrones look like a slow burn? One year gave us four Roman emperors, each clawing for power, turning the empire into a bloody chessboard. The other, four popes. In 12 months, the kind of spiritual relay race nobody was praying for. 2 years, two thrones, 8 men, zero chill. This is not just history. This is a tale of betrayals, bodies, and bizarre twists that could only happen when politics and power go off the rails. Welcome to the year where leadership came with a death sentence. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be glad you don't rule anything more powerful than a group chat. Rome, 69 AD, Emperor Nero is dead. And by dead, we mean he committed suicide after being declared a public enemy. But what happens when the most unhinged man in Rome checks out early? You get a power vacuum, the kind that doesn't suck. It explodes. First up, Galba, an old senator, more bones than boldness. He takes the throne promising to restore order. Instead, he slashes military benefits, fires half the Praetorian Guard, and somehow manages to make everyone angry. Bad move. Enter Otho, Galba's supposed ally. Otho doesn't just backstab Galba, he has him murdered in public. Plot twist? Galba's head is paraded through the streets on a stick. Welcome to ancient Rome, where politics is literal murder. But Otho's reign doesn't last either. Enter Vitellius, a gluttonous general from the German front who marches on Rome like he's going to an all-you-can-eat power buffet. Otho fights back. He loses. Then he, brace yourself, kills himself out of honor. Right, honor? So Vitellius becomes emperor. And by becomes, I mean burns through Rome's budget on banquets and bad decisions. He rules for all of 8 months. Because here comes the fourth guy, Vespasian, a general from the east. His troops march into Rome, drag Vitellius from hiding, and toss him into the Tiber River. Yep, 4 emperors, 1 year, a city that never slept because it was too busy putting out fires, literal and political. So, just to recap, Rome goes through emperors like socks. Each one gets bloodier than the last, and the empire is left gasping for stability. But at least these were military men, generals, politicians. What could go wrong with popes taking turns at that speed? Fast forward to the 13th century. Different throne, same chaos. The papacy, God's rep on earth, is about to look more like a speed dating event than divine succession. It starts with Pope Gregory X. He's a decent pope. Reforms elections, sets rules to stop endless conclaves. You know, adulting. But when he dies in January 1276, chaos ignores the doorbell and kicks it in. First replacement, Pope Innocent V, elected in January. Dead by June. He tried, God bless him. But tuberculosis says, no thanks. The cardinals huddle up. They try again. Enter Pope Adrian IV. He's elected in July. He never gets around to being ordained. And then he dies in August. That's 2 popes in less than 2 months. Vatican's HR department is sweating. So third time's the charm, right? Sort of. Pope John XXV takes over in September. Finally, a guy who lasts longer than a Renaissance dinner party. But even that's short-lived. Less than a year later, a ceiling in his study collapses on his head. Yes, the Pope dies from library-related injuries. A holy man crushed by his own intellect, literally. By the time the 4th Pope, Nicholas III, takes over in 1277, the church is exhausted. Cardinals are jumpy, and you just know someone in the Vatican is like, can we please put some railings in the papal palace? So what gives? 1 year, 4 emperors dying in fire and fury. Another year, 4 popes dropping like flies from sickness and falling furniture. Was 1276 cursed? Was 69 AD just peak toxic masculinity? Or is this what happens when power attracts people faster than a free buffet in a famine? Let's zoom out. In both 69 AD and 1276, we're seeing the same phenomenon. The higher the throne, the harder the fall. In Rome, it was ambition that killed them. Each man clawing to be emperor, only to find the sword of power was double-edged. They fought with steel and legions. In the Vatican, it was fragility, sickly old men elected in a desperate bid for stability. Their deaths weren't violent, but they were just as catastrophic. You don't need swords when ceilings do the job. And in both cases, the system was flawed. Rome had no peaceful succession plan. The church had too many factions pulling strings behind the scenes. Both institutions bled credibility and control faster than their leaders dropped dead. The real lesson? Power without structure is a haunted house. Everyone wants in, but no one survives the night. Here's the creepy part. Why do we remember these years? Because they weren't just chaotic, they were symbolic. In Rome, the imperial system nearly tore itself apart. But from the ashes came Vespasian, who built the Colosseum and ushered in decades of peace. His victory meant something. And the church? After the disaster of 1276, the next popes pushed harder for stability and reform. They got rid of some election loopholes and started electing younger candidates, which frankly should have been obvious after two popes died before even unpacking. So, what are we really looking at here? Two storms, two systems, both shaken by death and disorder, both surviving barely. Imagine it, two thrones, thousands of miles and centuries apart, both playing the most dangerous game of who wants to be in charge. The Year of the Four Emperors gave us a glimpse into how fragile even the most powerful empires can be when ego trumps order. The Year of the Four Popes? A reminder that even the divine seat isn't immune to bureaucracy, bad luck, and apparently, bad architecture. So the next time your boss takes a sick day or your committee can't pick a leader, just remember, it could be worse. And if you like this descent into historical madness, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more strange history that hits harder than a falling ceiling tile.